Boss fired me on highway at 2 a.m. Get off my site. I took road closed signs, cars hit wet cement. I spent 23 years building the safest highways in the state, only for a nepotism-hire executive to fire me on the side of the road because I refused to cut safety corners. He wanted me gone immediately. So I maliciously complied. I packed up all my gear, including the essential road-closed signs protecting the wet cement, and drove away, leaving his project defenseless against the morning rush hour. Tell me, where are you watching from today, and what's the temperature? I'm betting it's cooler there than the heat coming off a fresh batch of asphalt, and definitely cooler than the anger boiling in my blood during this story. The smell of wet concrete at 2 in the morning is distinctive. It's a heavy, chalky scent that hangs low in the humid air, mixing with the diesel fumes of the idling mixers and the metallic tang of hot engines. To most people, it smells like construction and traffic. Delays. To me, Hunter Crawford, 49 years old, it smelled like my life's work. You know how some guys collect baseball cards or restore old cars? My hobby for the past 2 decades has been building roads that don't kill people. Sounds boring, right? But when you've seen what happens when a family hits a pothole at 70 mph or when a bridge deck fails under a school bus, you understand why every detail matters. Every specification, every test, every safety protocol, it's all written in somebody's blood. I checked my watch. 2:14 a.m., the witching hour of highway construction, when the real work happens while the world sleeps. Easy does it, Brandon. Gentle, I shouted over the roar of the screed. Brandon Walsh, my rookie on the crew, was guiding the chute of the mixer truck with a look of intense concentration on his face. He was a good kid, barely 22, trying to feed a young family. His wife had just had their first baby 3 months ago, and you could see the weight of responsibility and how seriously he took every task. Brandon treated the concrete like it was liquid gold, which, considering the cost of this particular polymer-modified overlay, it basically was. This wasn't your basic sidewalk mix. This was high-tech stuff, engineered to withstand the punishment of interstate traffic for decades. "Looking good, Big Hunt," Brandon yelled back, giving me a thumbs up. The nickname had stuck from my Navy Seabees days, where attention to detail meant the difference between a road that lasted and one that got you and your buddies blown up. Some habits die hard, and perfectionism in construction was one I was proud to keep. We were working on the I-95 interchange, the main artery into the city. This wasn't just any road. This was the economic lifeline that kept commerce flowing, families traveling, and emergency services moving. The state had given us a strict window, 10:00 p.m. to 5:00 a.m. By the time the morning commuters started sipping their first coffees, this concrete needed to be hard enough to take the weight of a loaded semi-truck doing 65 mph without so much as a crack. It was a precision operation that most people never see or think about. Everything had to be perfect. The slump, that's the consistency of the concrete when it comes out of the truck. Too dry and it won't flow properly, leaving weak spots. Too wet and it won't achieve the strength rating. The temperature had to be monitored constantly because concrete is a chemical reaction, and heat speeds up the process while cold slows it down. The finish had to be smooth enough for safe driving, but textured enough to provide traction in wet weather. I wiped sweat from my forehead with the back of my glove. Even in the dead of night, the heat radiating from the chemical reaction of the curing concrete was intense. The calcium silicate hydrate crystals forming in the mix generated their own warmth, and standing over a fresh pour in summer was like working over a massive outdoor oven. Walked the line, my boots crunching on the gravel shoulder, inspecting the forms that held the concrete in place. My crew was a well-oiled machine. Danny Martinez on the screed, smoothing the surface to exact grade. Steve Johnson manning the vibrator, eliminating air pockets that could cause future failures. Tommy Wilson working the edger, creating the perfect transition joints. These weren't just construction workers. They were craftsmen who took pride in their trade. They knew I didn't tolerate shortcuts. In this business, a shortcut meant a pothole in 6 months, and a pothole meant a blown tire, a swerve, and a family in a minivan hitting the guardrail at highway speed. I'd seen the aftermath too many times. Twisted metal, broken glass, lives changed forever because somebody wanted to save a few dollars or shave a few hours off a schedule. Not on my watch. Never on my watch. My daughter Ashley was heading into her junior year at State, studying to be a civil engineer like her old man. She'd grown up hearing stories about construction sites over dinner, learning why we did things the way we did them. "Dad," she'd say when she was younger, "why do you care so much about roads? They're just concrete." I'd always tell her the same thing. "Ashley, roads aren't just concrete. They're promises. Promises that families will get home safe, that ambulances will reach hospitals in time, that commerce will flow and communities will thrive." Now she understood. Last summer, she'd worked as an intern on one of our smaller projects, and I'd watched her face change when she saw the precision required, the science behind what looked like simple construction work. She was going to be a hell of an engineer, probably better than me someday. "Logan, how are we looking on the next load?" I keyed my radio, speaking to our site dispatcher. "Truck 4 is 10 minutes out, Hunt." Logan Davis's voice crackled back, calm and steady as always. Logan had been with the company almost as long as I had, worked his way up from laborer to dispatcher through sheer competence and reliability. But heads up, you got a visitor. Black SUV just pulled through the checkpoint. My stomach tightened. There was only one person who drove a pristine black SUV onto a muddy job site in the middle of the night. Mason Richards. Mason was the new vice president of operations, 30 years old with a degree in business management from some expensive East Coast school, and he happened to be the nephew of the owner, Marcus Thompson. The family connection was no secret. Marcus had brought Mason into the company 18 months ago, supposedly to bring fresh ideas and modern efficiency to operations. What Mason brought was inexperience dressed up in expensive suits and a dangerous belief that construction was just another spreadsheet to be optimized. He'd never held a shovel in his life, never felt the weight of responsibility that comes with knowing that one bad decision could kill people. He thought concrete dried because you asked it nicely, and that safety regulations were suggestions for people who lacked imagination. Mason wore Italian loafers to site visits, which told you everything you need to know about his understanding of construction work. He looked at experienced crews like we were part of the machinery, replaceable, dirty, and too expensive. I'd seen his type before in the Navy, officers who'd never been in the field trying to tell seasoned NCOs how to do their jobs. It never ended well. I watched the headlights sweep across the fresh gray slab we had just laid. The SUV came to a halt, dangerously close to the edge of the forms. You don't park that close to wet concrete unless you have no idea what you're looking at. The door opened and Mason stepped out, checking his phone before even looking at the work site. He was wearing a suit jacket over a designer t-shirt, some kind of trendy business casual look that made him look ridiculous next to men in high-vis vests and hard hats, covered in honest dirt and concrete dust. "Crawford," he barked, not bothering with a greeting or even basic courtesy. He walked over, stepping delicately around puddles of slurry like he was navigating a minefield. "Why is the second lane still closed? The schedule says we should be pouring lane 3 by now." Here's the thing about schedules in construction. They're guidelines based on everything going perfectly. Weather cooperates, materials arrive on time, equipment doesn't break down, and the concrete comes out of the plant exactly to specification. In 23 years, I've never seen everything go perfectly. That's why you build buffer time into real schedules. And that's why you don't compromise safety to make up for delays. I took a deep breath, centering myself. Michelle always told me I had a tell when I was getting angry. My voice got quieter instead of louder. "We had a delay with the batch plant, Mason. Bad mix. I sent it back. We're 40 minutes behind, but we'll make it up on the finish." "You sent a truck back?" Mason's eyes bulged like I'd just told him I'd set money on fire. "Do you have any idea what that costs?" "That's $5,000 down the drain, Crawford. This is where experience matters. A bad batch of concrete doesn't just cost you the initial $5,000. It costs you the time to remove it, the labor to re-pour, the materials to fix the damage, and potentially the lawsuits when the road fails." But Mason saw only the immediate cost, not the long-term consequences. "It was too wet, Mason," I explained, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. "The slump test showed 7 inches. Specs call for 4 to 6 maximum. If we poured it, it wouldn't hit the PSI rating. The concrete would be soft. It would scale in the first winter and we'd have a failed section within a year." "I don't care about a year from now," Mason snapped, waving a hand dismissively at the precision work my crew was doing. "I care about the quarterly budget reports due on Tuesday. You're bleeding money, Crawford. My uncle put me in charge to stop the bleeding. Speed it up. Pour the next batch regardless of the slump test. I want this lane open by 4:30. The crew had stopped working. The sudden silence of the screed made Mason's voice carry across the work zone. Brandon was watching from behind his shovel, his young face tight with concern. Danny had shut down the vibrator. Steve was standing motionless at the edge of the pour. They'd all worked with me long enough to know what was coming. In construction, there are two kinds of people: those who understand that concrete chemistry doesn't care about your schedule, and those who think they can negotiate with physics. Mason was definitely the second type. I can't do that, I said, my voice dropping to that dangerous, quiet Michelle always recognized. We need a minimum of 4 hours cure time before traffic hits this concrete. The polymer additives in this mix need time to cross-link. If we open at 4:30, the concrete will still be in the plastic phase. It'll be like soup under traffic loading. You'll have tire tracks permanently set in the highway surface, structural damage, and $1 million repair bill. Mason stepped closer, invading my personal space in a way that told me he'd never been in a real confrontation in his life. Up close, he smelled of expensive cologne and the kind of arrogance that comes from never facing consequences for bad decisions. I didn't ask for a geology lesson, Big Hunt, he said, using my nickname like it was an insult. I gave you an order. Optimize the workflow. Cut the cure time. Get it open. I looked past him at the wet concrete, glistening under the work lights like a river of gray mercury. 23 years of experience had taught me to read concrete, like some people read books. This pour was perfect. The right consistency, the right temperature, the right chemical balance to create a road surface that would last 30 years if we let it cure properly. Destroying it by rushing the process would be a crime against craftsmanship. No. The word hung in the humid night air, heavier than the diesel fumes from the idling equipment. In the construction world, you don't tell the VP no unless you're ready for a war. But I had been building roads since Mason was learning to tie his shoes. I knew the physics of concrete, the chemistry of curing, and the human cost of cutting corners better than he knew his own quarterly projections. Behind Mason, I could see Brandon's face in the work lights. The kid looked scared, probably thinking about his baby at home and the mortgage he was struggling to pay. Danny and Steve had worked with me for over a decade. They knew I didn't make stands like this lightly. Excuse me? Mason laughed, a short, sharp sound that contained no humor whatsoever. Did you just say no to me? I said no, I repeated, standing my ground. I'm a big guy, broad-shouldered from decades of lifting rebar and tamping asphalt, built like the heavy equipment I work around. I towered over Mason's soft 5'8" frame, but he had the confidence of a man who had never been punched in the mouth for making a stupid decision. This is a safety issue, Mason. If we open early, the concrete fails. If the concrete fails, cars lose traction in wet weather. People get hurt. I am the superintendent on this project. My signature goes on the inspection reports. I'm not signing off on a death trap so you can make your quarterly numbers look good. Mason's face turned a blotchy shade of red that clashed with his expensive shirt. He looked around at the crew, realizing that this conversation was happening in front of the laborers. In his mind, I was embarrassing him, making him look weak in front of people he considered beneath him. What he didn't understand was that these men respected competence and experience, not titles and family connections. You think you're untouchable because you've been here 23 years? Mason hissed, his voice rising. You're a dinosaur, Crawford. You're inefficient. You waste materials and you're insubordinate. This company needs to modernize, and that means getting rid of old-school thinking. I'm thorough, I corrected him, keeping my voice level. Mr. Thompson knows how I work. He knows why I've never had a safety incident or a structural failure on any of my projects. Mr. Thompson is in the Hamptons this week, Mason snapped. I'm running operations now, and I'm telling you to open the lane at 4:30. Are you going to do it, or do I need to find someone who understands the modern economy? I looked at the fresh pour one more time. Under the work lights, it was a thing of beauty, smooth, level, waiting to cure into a road surface that would serve commuters safely for decades if we just gave it time. Destroying it by rushing the process would be like smashing a Stradivarius violin to save on storage costs. I won't do it, I said quietly. And I won't let any of my men do it either. We wait until 6 o'clock a.m. minimum, preferably 7 o'clock, given the humidity, or we don't open at all. Mason stared at me for what felt like a full minute but was probably only 10 seconds. I could see the wheels turning in his head. This wasn't about the concrete anymore. It was about power, about establishing dominance, about showing everyone that he was the new sheriff in town. He didn't care if the road failed in 6 months. He cared about winning this confrontation. "Give me your radio," he said finally. "What?" "Give me your radio and your badge and your keys to the foreman's truck." He held out his soft, manicured hand, palm up. "You're fired, Hunter. Effective immediately. Get off my sight." The words hit me like a physical blow to the chest. In 23 years with Thompson Construction, through recessions and booms, difficult projects and easy ones, I had never been fired from anything. My safety record was spotless. My quality record was impeccable. My crews respected me, my supervisors trusted me, and the state inspectors knew my signature. Meant the work was done right. "You can't be serious," I said, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. "You can't fire the superintendent in the middle of an active pour. I just did. Insubordination, gross incompetence, failure to follow direct orders from management." Mason's voice was getting louder, more confident now that he'd made his decision. "I'll have legal draw up the paperwork in the morning. Now hand over the company property before I call the state police and have you arrested for trespassing." I looked at Brandon. The kid's face had gone pale under his hard hat. He started to step forward, maybe to defend me or at least say something, but I held up a hand to stop him. If Brandon spoke up now, Mason would fire him too. The kid had a 3-month-old baby at home and a wife who'd quit her job to stay home with the child. He couldn't afford to lose this job over my battle with management. Danny and Steve were watching from the edge of the pour, their faces grim. They'd worked with me long enough to know that when I took a stand like this, it was because lives were at stake. But they also had mortgages and families to feed. Slowly, deliberately, I unclipped the radio from my high-vis vest. The plastic was warm from being against my body, worn smooth from years of use. I had called in thousands of status reports on this radio, coordinated equipment deliveries, summoned inspectors, reported progress to the state DOT. It felt wrong to hand it over to someone who didn't understand its importance. I placed it in Mason's soft hand, feeling like I was surrendering my sword. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out the master key ring. Keys to the equipment, the site trailer, the material storage areas, the foreman's pickup truck. Each key represented trust that had been built over decades of competent, honest work. "This is a mistake, Mason," I said, my voice steady despite the fury burning in my chest. "You don't know what you're doing. You don't understand what you're unleashing." "I'm saving this company money," he sneered, closing his fist around the keys like he was claiming a prize. "I'm getting rid of dead weight and bringing us into the 21st century. Get out. I don't want to see your face on this highway again. Take your personal stuff and go home." "My personal stuff?" I asked. "Anything that belongs to you personally. If it's not company property, take it with you. I don't want you coming back tomorrow claiming we stole your lunchbox or your thermos. Clear out now." He turned his back on me, dismissing me like I was a piece of malfunctioning equipment. He walked toward Brandon, already starting to bark new orders. "You, kid, what's your name?" "Walsh?" "Good. Get that screed moving faster. We're opening this lane at 4:30 whether the concrete likes it or not." I stood there for a moment, listening to the sound of traffic in the distance, the hum of the generators, the idle rumble of the concrete trucks. These sounds had been the soundtrack of my adult life. In a few hours, I'd never hear them in a professional capacity again. But as I stood there, something clicked in my mind. Mason had been very specific about what I should remove from the site. "Anything that belongs to you personally," he'd said. "If it's not company property, take it with you." I looked toward my personal pickup truck parked on the shoulder. Then my eyes drifted to the safety perimeter that surrounded our work zone. Technically, the company provided the trucks and the heavy machinery, but because of a budget mix-up 3 years ago, the safety contracting had been outsourced to a subsidiary LLC that I owned. It was a tax loophole Marcus Thompson had set up to save money on equipment rentals. I bought the signs, the cones, and the flashers, and the company rented them from me on a monthly basis. I looked at the massive, flashing, road-closed, do-not-enter signs blocking the highway entrance ramp. I looked at the 300 traffic cones specifically, positioned to taper high-speed traffic away from our wet concrete. The contract for those rentals had expired yesterday, August 22nd. I had the renewal paperwork sitting on my desk back home, waiting to be signed first thing Monday morning. Technically, right now, every single one of those signs belonged to me personally, and Mason had just ordered me to remove all my personal property immediately. Anything that belongs to me, I muttered under my breath, a dangerous smile playing at the corners of my mouth. Walking to my personal truck felt like crossing a bridge I couldn't come back over. My battered Ford F-250 had been my partner through countless job sites, its bed scarred from hauling tools and materials, its cab filled with the smell of coffee and concrete dust. I threw my hard hat onto the passenger seat and started the engine. I pulled out my phone and called Logan at dispatch. "Hunt, what's happening?" Mason's screaming on the main channel, Logan whispered. "I'm out, Logan. He fired me for refusing to open the lane early." "He what? Is he insane?" "Listen carefully, Logan. Log this call. Timestamp, 2:25 a.m. I am leaving the site per direct orders from VP Operations. He instructed me to remove all personal property immediately." There was a pause. "You know the rental agreement on the safety gear expired yesterday, right?" Long silence. Then Logan's voice, barely above a whisper. "The paperwork is sitting unsigned in your inbox. Technically, the company is in unauthorized possession of your equipment." "Exactly. I wouldn't want liability issues for abandoned property." "You magnificent bastard," Logan breathed. "Tell Brandon I'm sorry about what's coming." I hung up and put the truck in reverse, backing toward the work zone entrance where my safety equipment stood guard like orange and white sentinels. The wind from passing semi-trucks in the open lanes was fierce, but I'd done this dance 1,000 times. First, the left lane closed ahead sign, heavy, weighted, with sandbags, but I muscled it into the truck bed. Clang. Next, the construction ahead warning, then the massive do not enter barricade positioned at the mouth of the fresh pour. I looked back toward Mason. He was still berating Brandon, too focused on asserting dominance to notice his safety perimeter disappearing. Finally, the taper cones. I didn't need all 300, just the critical first 50 that guided traffic away from the lane. Without them, the visual cue to merge left vanished. To a tired driver doing 70 mph at dawn, that dark, smooth concrete would look like a newly paved express lane. I slammed the tailgate shut and drove into the night, leaving Mason's project naked and defenseless. At home, Michelle was waiting with coffee and the rental contract pulled up on her laptop. "How bad is this going to be?" she asked, studying my face. "Bad for Mason, good for justice." I settled into my chair. "That concrete won't be ready until 7 a.m. minimum. If rush hour hits it before then?" We didn't have to wait long. At 5:42 a.m., the local news switched to breaking coverage of a developing traffic situation on I-95. The traffic camera showed a disaster that would have been comical if it weren't so expensive. 6 cars had followed each other into the wet concrete like lemmings over a cliff. The lead vehicle, a white Mercedes, had sunk to its rocker panels in the gelatinous mix. The others had followed, creating a line of vehicles trapped in gray quicksand. The polymer concrete was already beginning to cure around their wheels, suspension components, and exhaust systems. But when the news helicopter zoomed in for close-ups, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Where the Mercedes had churned up the concrete, exposing the substrate underneath, there should have been a grid of steel reinforcement bars visible. Instead, there was nothing but dirt. "Michelle, look at this." I pointed at the screen. "Where's the rebar?" She leaned forward, squinting. "What rebar?" "Exactly. That pour should have number 6 bars every 6 inches top and bottom mat. It's a structural deck over a drainage culvert. Without steel, that concrete has 0 tensile strength." The implications hit me like a sledgehammer. Mason hadn't just been cutting corners on cure time. He'd been stealing the steel budget, pocketing hundreds of thousands of dollars by eliminating the reinforcement entirely. If traffic had opened on schedule, the first heavy truck convoy would have caused catastrophic failure. When the state troopers arrived at my door 2 hours later, Mason was with them, covered in concrete splatter and looking like he'd been crying. "That's him!" he screamed. "Arrest him! He sabotaged the site." I handed the lead trooper my rental agreement, highlighted and notarized. "Officer, as you can see, the rental period expired at midnight on August 22nd. Mr. Richards terminated my employment at 2:15 a.m. and specifically ordered me to remove all personal property immediately. I was following his direct orders." The trooper studied the document, looked at Mason's signature, then back at Mason. Sir, did you verify replacement safety measures before dismissing your contractor? Mason's face went white. He'd never thought about what came after firing me. The investigation that followed was swift and thorough. State Inspector Ryan Pierce, my old Navy buddy, discovered that Mason had been operating a sophisticated embezzlement scheme for 18 months. Shell companies, fake invoices, substandard materials, the works. The missing rebar was just the tip of the iceberg. The trial took 8 months, but it was worth the wait. Mason got 12 years federal prison. I got promoted to project manager with a $120,000 salary, and Ashley's college tuition was secure. Marcus Thompson personally apologized and asked me to help rebuild the company's reputation. Sometimes people ask if I regret causing that traffic disaster. I tell them the same thing every time. I regret that it took 6 cars getting stuck in wet cement to expose a man who was willing to build death traps for quarterly profits. But I don't regret following his orders exactly as given. In construction, precision matters. And sometimes the most precise thing you can do is give someone exactly what they asked for. You see, there's a difference between being expensive and being costly. I was expensive to employ, but Mason's shortcuts would have been costly in human lives. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do to a corrupt system isn't to fight it head-on, but to follow its orders so precisely that it destroys itself.